Everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the little things that you might see in various YouTubers or creators, or things on the internet, or things in real life, or things just in general that just kind of annoy you, and yet you can't really understand why. You just kind of look at it and you kind of just think, ugh. Like right now, the way that I'm sitting, this kind of like cross-legged, like half cross-legged, half sort of knees touching kind of thing. I'd made a video about a week and a half ago, right, where I had to do this because of the nature of how I was sitting. And when it got time to actually making the thumbnail, I was scrolling through the video trying to find a spot where I didn't do this exact thing because it was just really irritating me. It just sort of made me think, God, that's just... If I saw another YouTuber with that in the thumbnail, I wouldn't click the video, it would just annoy me. And it's a little judgmental part at the back of your brain that kind of, I don't know, maybe puts other people down. Maybe it's a defense mechanism or something like that. And I reckon I'm not alone in that, and everyone will have different things that trigger that little weird, unreasonable judgmentality. Like this is not a reason to not click a video. The way that someone's sitting like this. So when I first came here and I tried to set up, I tried to sort of sit like this. I don't think this really works any better. I mean, you could sort of maybe do a little bit something like that. But all of these things are just the natural way that this has ended up coming about. This is the natural way that you would have to sit if you wanted to sit here. There's no way around it. And at the end of the day, it's all right to sort of just be yourself, and that's what so many people on the internet are actually doing. They're just being themselves. I mean, what's the whole thing of YouTube, like the whole saying, broadcast yourself? That's what people are doing. And, you know, at the end of the day, what people are trying to do is just trying to express themselves. And, you know, what happens when you express yourself is you're naturally going to sort of worry about other people's interpretation of what you're doing and that kind of thing. And you know what? People are fine. People are way less judgmental than you actually think, or maybe they just do a really good job of hiding their you know, little judgments because they themselves know that their little judgments that are like their version of me with the knees touching like that are quite unreasonable, and you can kind of try and block it out and go, look, I don't know why that's bothering me, but it is. But I'm just going to move past it and just engage with the things that that person is actually saying. Because once you actually get into the meat and two potatoes of what someone's saying, then it becomes a lot easier to actually sort of get on board for what they're doing. Like, have you ever sort of, I don't know, say a band that you kind of know that get on your nerves a little bit, but, you know, once you actually do sit down and listen to them, no, actually they were quite good. You know, for me, a band that does that kind of thing would be Spongel. I don't know, whenever I see their live videos, there's something about their aura that just frustrates me and irritates me a little bit. It activates the judgmental part of my brain, right? And so whenever I don't listen to them for quite a while, I build up this little idea in my head of like a stereotype of what their music sounds like. And then I actually go and listen to it after a while. And then I listen to it and it's actually not really like that stereotype that I built up in my head. Or if it is, then it's not a problem. It's just fine, it's okay. It's okay to be like that. You know, it's the same thing with sort of various celebrities that you might see that they might irritate you, but then, you know, maybe, you know, have you got a stand-up comedian that you really you think you don't like, but then you actually go and sit down and actually watch one of their specials or something like that, and then turns out, actually, no, you laughed more than you thought you were going to. You maybe sat down, you were going to hate watch something. For instance, about a year ago, I sat down and I started watching The Batman, the Robert Pattinson one. And I was kind of expecting to not like it. I was expecting to really just think it was a miserable load of old crap, to be honest. And for the first 15 minutes, I was purely hate watching it. And after about 15 minutes, I started to really get on board with it. And then as I started to get on board with it, I started to really enjoy it. And I ended up watching the entire thing, all 3 hours of it. And I started watching it about 1 a.m, thinking I was going to watch it for maybe 15 minutes to kind of take the piss out of it and then get on with my day. Because, you know, those superhero things, they have a little judgmental little thing for me. You know, I just think, oh, running around in your spandex, doing a bit of that. Shh. Oh yeah, what, you going to kill Dr. Octopus again? Shh. It's not just Spider-Man, it's all the superheroes. They all have that same sort of thing for me where it's just like, oh my God. Take your spandex off and just punch the bloody bastard, you know? And, you know, when you actually do sit down and watch a good one, subvert those expectations and they do interesting things with it. And so everything that you see that you kind of dislike and you've built up an image of that you dislike, you end up returning to it, and it turns out to be a lot better than you thought it was going to be. Like for me recently, that was Family Guy. I for the past, I don't know how long, I just hated Family Guy, and I thought it was the worst thing ever. I hated the cutaways, I hated the general aura of the show. But then for some reason, I just started watching it again, and I started to like it, and I started to really get back into it. And I found out that I actually do like the show. And that little judgmental side of me just sort of dissipated over time. And I think it's important to recognize that you have an inner judgment that can sometimes be quite negative. And it's important to recognize that so that you can overcome it and at least look at things with an objectivity. Because it can be quite difficult, especially when you're just growing up and maybe you're still a teenager and you're just figuring out like the world of adults and so on. It can be hard to sort of figure out the difference between useful cynicism and just generally being a bit of a miserable bastard. Because yeah, it can be useful to be cynical about certain things because, you know, the world's got a bit of a, you know, its fair share of problems and so on and so forth that maybe we need to be sorting out. But, you know, you've got that in an internal negative sort of thing. And it's about just trying to make it as how do I put it? It's about making it, shrinking it down, that inner judgmental sort of part of your brain, making it sort of not disappear, because you'll never make it disappear because it's an internal sort of part of you, but just making sure that it doesn't get yourself down, and when you're out with other people that you're not like bringing down the mood and that kind of thing. And obviously if you're going through a hard time, it can be quite hard to not do that because everything that's on your mind is a little bit grim. I'm thinking of the Saxondale episode now where Saxondale ends up stopping a bloke from killing himself, and he sort of says, look, anytime you want to call, come over, whatever, I'll be here for you. And you know, the guy keeps coming over and he keeps bringing down the mood, and eventually everyone starts to get a bit sick of him. And then his life sort of turns around and he becomes really happy. And yeah, I feel like with this sitting like this sort of thing, right, it is annoying. I don't like the fact that I'm sitting like this because I'm doing something that if I saw it in another video, it would frustrate me and it would make me want to not watch the video, and it would just make me think, oh, fuck's sake, bloody, I don't know. There's no rational thing to it. It just makes me a little bit irritated. And I can't quite pin that down, but I think it's important to at least recognize it and recognize the fact that maybe you can't pin it down, because maybe you don't necessarily need to pin it down. You just need to know that it's there. You need to know that it is an active part of you so that you can turn it off and turn it on as and when you need it. So yeah, just a little video just to sort of say, you know, you've got probably some negative things that are going on, and you know, you might have negative opinions towards stuff, and you might have negative outlooks on the world, and it's not about shutting them off. It's just about recognizing that, and about recognizing that you can be a negative person, but not worrying so much, and allowing the fact that you're not worrying to bring out the positivity within things. Because you know that whole thing of like, that you probably got taught it in school, like, oh, it takes 20 muscles to smile, but it takes 40 to frown. So why don't you just smile? Because it takes less muscles. It's kind of like that a little bit, really. Just try and turn off the negative part of your brain as much as you can, because it'll always be there. It's never going to go away, but you can always just try and shut it off as much as you can. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great rest of the day. And yeah, next time you see something that just sort of irritates you, maybe just try checking it out anyway. Go along to that sort of comedy club sort of thing that has some comedians that you think, oh God, it's gonna be like a little bit like, oh, bloody like that. And then you might go and it might turn out to be a really nice night. So yeah, just get out there, try new things, enjoy new positive experiences, and yeah, don't let the negative part of your brain rule your life, because you know, you've got a great life going on, and if you don't now, you will at some point, and everything will work itself out pretty much. So yeah, take care everybody, bye bye. I've got to figure out how to get out of this, because I'm kind of stuck here now. Ugh. Kind of want to finish the video by climbing the tree, so let's do that. Ow! Action scene.